Hi, welcome to Shop Stop. Today we want to talk about taking a systematic approach to setting your machine in the field.
I think the first thing you got to think about is as material comes through the combine, if we're doing a poor job somewhere near the front of the machine, then we're probably making the back of the machine work too hard. So we want to make sure that our cylinder is set correctly, or a rotor if we're running a rotary machine, because we want to get our threshing and most of our separation done with wheat at the cylinder or rotor on the combine.
So, the good point of reference obviously is to check your owner's manual and see what the initial settings should be, and then work from there. And don't be changing two things at one time. Take that systematic approach and say, okay, am I cracking grain? Then I'm going to lower my concave, for example, or I'm going to lower my cylinder speed. I'm not going to do both at the same time.
Yeah, make one adjustment and see what the effects of those are, and then move on. In general, I guess my recommendation would be to run the cylinder as fast as possible and as wide open as possible, because that gives you capacity, and then to start making adjustments there. If you're not threshing it good enough, then you start to tighten things down, or again, if you're cracking grain, maybe you want to start to slow the cylinder or rotor down.
Once we get it threshed, we've got to separate it, and we do that at the separation area near the back of the machine.
And so as you think about that grain coming through there, with wheat, it should be relatively clean as it leaves the cylinder. If it's not, then we're probably going to overload the shoe or the walker on the combine, or the back end of the rotor. So I think when you start looking at the cleaning shoe, there's basically three things that you're going to adjust back in that area: the chaffer spacing, or the top sieve, your cleaning sieve, which is down below that, and our airspeed.
And it may not be just airspeed. It may not change the speed of the fan. It may be a baffle that controls airflow too, so it may not actually change the fan speed. But yes, all of those involved, and those two, when you're setting your machine, it's best to have two people, one in the machine operating it, one down on the ground checking for losses, and then changing one thing at a time, and have a system set up between you two where you can communicate. Of course, we've got cell phones now, which helps a bunch, and you can communicate how you're going to change, what you're going to change, and then see how that affects your losses on the ground.
So basically at the back, you want to be able to let the clean grain come through the sieve and into the clean grain elevator, and you want the chaff and everything else to go out the back. So you've got to get that spacing, airflow matched for the conditions that you're operating in. And you may need to change them on occasion as you get as things start to dry out a little bit later in the day, but it's mainly pay attention to what's going on and check your losses. Harvesting is basically a trade-off between losses and grain cleanliness in most cases.
That's a good point. Typically we take these machines to the field and we set them at the first field we come to, and then we never look at them again. It would be a good idea to check on occasion to see if you have any excessive losses.
So be systematic. I think the big key is one thing at a time. Make that change, see what happens, see what the effect is, and then decide if you need to make any other changes after that.
All right, we thank you for watching Shop Stop. We'll see you next time.